How did ancient humans survive extreme heat waves? Right now, you are cool. You might not even notice it, but you are. There's a number on a wall somewhere in your home, and if the air ever rises above it, a machine kicks on and fixes the problem before your body even registers a complaint. You walk from an air conditioned house to an air conditioned car to an air conditioned building, and the hottest part of your entire day is probably the 10 seconds it takes to get from one to the other. Summer for you is an inconvenience. It's turning up the AC. It's drinking more water. It's complaining that it's too hot to go outside. But for almost the entire human history, summer heat wasn't an inconvenience. Summer heat was the season that tried to kill you. And it didn't try just once or in just one way. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Ancient humans faced heat waves that would make your worst summer day look like a comfortable spring morning. We're talking about temperatures so extreme that survival wasn't about comfort anymore. It was about whether you'd see tomorrow. So, how did they do it? How did ancient humans survive when the sun became a weapon? The first thing you need to understand is that ancient humans didn't fight the heat, they surrendered to it. And that surrender was actually their greatest survival tool. In the middle of the day, when temperatures peaked, we're talking 120, sometimes 130 degrees Fahrenheit in places like Africa and the Middle East, ancient humans did something that seems almost lazy to us. They stopped. They stopped hunting. They stopped building. They stopped moving. They found shelter and they waited. But this wasn't laziness. This was genius. This was the difference between living and dying. Think about what your body does in extreme heat. Your core temperature rises. Your heart has to work harder to pump blood to the surface of your skin to cool you down. You sweat. You lose water. You lose electrolytes. Keep this going for 8 or 10 hours, and your body starts to fail. Your organs begin to shut down. You can't think clearly. Your muscles start to seize. That's when people die from heat. Ancient humans understood this instinctively. They knew that the middle of the day was death time, so they created what we might call heat refuges. These weren't elaborate structures, they didn't need to be. A cave, a rock overhang, a dense grove of trees, anywhere that blocked direct sunlight and allowed air to move. They'd spend their entire midday there, sometimes 8, sometimes 10 hours, just waiting for the sun to move lower in the sky. And here's where it gets interesting. They weren't just sitting there doing nothing. They were using this time strategically. They were making tools. They were preparing food. They were making weapons for the hunt. They were socializing. They were telling stories. The forced rest period became a time for mental and physical recovery. Their bodies weren't constantly under attack from the heat. They were in periods of intense activity, followed by periods of cool rest. That cycle, that rhythm, kept them alive. But shelter was only half the equation. Water was everything. In extreme heat conditions, your body needs water constantly. You can survive weeks without food. You can survive maybe 3 or 4 days without water in normal conditions. But in extreme heat, you're looking at hours, maybe a day if you're lucky. Ancient humans who survived heat waves weren't the strongest or the fastest. They were the ones who understood water. They mapped the landscape like you might map your favorite driving routes. They knew where every spring was, every river, every pond, every place that held water, even the small hidden places that tourists would never find. But here's the crucial part. They didn't just memorize these locations. They planned their entire lives around them. During heat waves, ancient humans would actually move toward water sources. They'd change their migration patterns. They'd alter their hunting grounds. Every decision they made during extreme heat was filtered through one question. Is there water nearby? If the answer was no, they didn't go there. Not because they were afraid, but because they understood the math of survival. No water equals death. It was that simple. And they didn't just drink water. They used it on their bodies. They'd wet their skin. They'd wade into water sources to cool their core temperature. They'd soak cloth or leather and wrap it around their heads and bodies. They understood that evaporative cooling was one of the most powerful tools they had. Water on skin plus air movement equals temperature drop. They didn't know the physics, but they knew it worked. Now, here's where ancient humans got even smarter. They understood something that most people today completely miss. They understood that heat waves created opportunities for others who weren't prepared. During extreme heat, prey animals cluster around water sources too. The antelope, the zebra, the deer, they're all desperate for water, just like humans. So ancient humans didn't hunt randomly during heat waves. They positioned themselves between the animals and the water. They set up camps on migration routes. They waited for the animals to come to them, confused and desperate and dying of thirst. The hunt that might take a week in normal conditions could happen in a single day during a heat wave. The extreme conditions that threatened human life also became a hunting advantage for those who understood them, and they didn't waste anything. In extreme heat, meat spoils fast. Ancient humans who survived heat waves understood preservation. They dried meat in the intense sun. They used salt from evaporating water. They stored food in cool underground locations. The heat that tried to kill them also became a tool for preservation. But there's one more thing that separated the survivors from the dead, and it's the one thing we've almost completely forgotten. Ancient humans understood their own limits. They didn't try to be heroes. They didn't try to hunt during the worst of the heat. They didn't try to travel long distances when it was hot. They didn't ignore the signs that their bodies were failing. They just adapted. They changed their schedule. They moved at night. They hunted in early morning or late evening. They rested during the day. They worked with their bodies instead of against them. This seems obvious now, but think about how many times you've pushed yourself in the heat, worked outside in July, exercised in the afternoon sun, refused to slow down because slowing down felt weak. Ancient humans never did that. They understood that you don't fight nature. You work with it, you respect it, you surrender to it. The really wild part? Some ancient humans didn't just survive heat waves, they actually thrived during them. They moved toward places that were so hot, so harsh, that other human groups wouldn't dare go. The deserts of Africa, the hot plains of the Middle East, the harsh valleys where temperatures could kill you in hours if you weren't careful. Ancient humans didn't move away from these places, they moved into them. Because once they figured out the patterns, once they understood how to read the landscape and plan for water and time their activities correctly, those brutal environments actually protected them. They were safe in the heat because everyone else was too afraid to follow. So when you're sitting in your air-conditioned room on a hot summer day, thinking about how you couldn't possibly survive without modern conveniences, remember this: your ancestors didn't just survive in temperatures that would kill you today. They thrived, they hunted, they created, they built societies, all without a single air conditioner, all with nothing but understanding, planning, and respect for the power of nature. That's what ancient humans did when the heat tried to kill them. They got smart about it.